Hey everyone. Okay, this is episode 6, and I haven't really come up with a creative title yet, but basically this video is going to be about the recent exposure I have had or noticed to an increased number of adults being diagnosed with ADHD as adults, and typically 40 plus. So my disclaimer, I am not a medical professional. I will give suggestions because I'm dealing with this personally in my own life. And I'm just going to give up tips of what helped me. I haven't been diagnosed, but I exhibit a lot of the symptoms, and it's not like I have been tested and not diagnosed. I just haven't been fully evaluated yet. It takes some time. But I do strongly believe I have some form of ADHD, and I believe that it stems from environmental and stress factors, not something that's going on in my head, and that is a medical reason. I think it's environmental stressors. So anyway, let's begin. So I've noticed an increased numbers. Co-workers I've talked to, a lot of men who have said that they went to the doctor for checkups. One of the questions they ask you now that they didn't really ask you before is, are you depressed? And these men would say, yeah, I got depression, I get sad, I have anxiety. And then they go in to be tested and they have ADHD. Now, some of them that I have talked to believe that they had it as a child because they exhibit these same symptoms, which just wasn't diagnosed. And then there's a few of them who believe it's environmental, including myself, and just life, right? So for example, Jenny Mai, she was on some generic talk show thing. I know her because she married the Snowman. If you know who the Snowman is, hip hop reference. Anyway, she talks about having adult ADHD. And also Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah is the South American comedian who got that good talk show host job, who recently quit to do other things. But anyway, he did an interview and he talks about how his severe ADHD was the cause of his depression. And of course he has the money and resources to really dive deep in himself and work on those things and work with therapists and stuff. And his depression is caused by his ADHD. And if he doesn't constantly monitor his sleep, his food, his routine, he needs a routine. And when his life is off of schedule and off of track, he has to do these coping skills and mechanisms to get back on track to not easily fall into depression. And that, one symptom of having the adult ADHD is easily being overwhelmed. And if you live a regular life in America, that's easy to be overwhelmed. The problem is not being overwhelmed. The problem is how to handle those feelings, pivot your life, navigate. So for example, for me personally, my kids are like tornadoes, and they can come and destroy a house in 2.5 seconds. Like literally, you just put the finishing touches. You did that last Lysol wipe in your house. You like, and then my kids come in and you don't know what happened, and it's just trashed, right? So I get extremely overwhelmed and I sink into a deep depression because I don't know where to start. I'm a smart woman. Of course, I know you start with one section, you do one section, you start with the kitchen. I know this, but somehow the feeling of being overwhelmed, or the daunting task of what's ahead of me, the anticipatory anxiety that I have when now having to clean this house. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a housewife. I don't do the cleaning and cooking. I do the cooking all by myself, but I don't do the cleaning all by myself. I have a very great partner, and we tackle on these responsibilities together. However, when I get this overwhelming feeling of having to start this task, I get depressed and I shut down. So anyway, if you want to do some self-evaluation, some symptoms to look at is being overwhelmed without having the ability to cope. I think a lot of us who were reared in the instant information era, as far as like I was, my youth is not internet based. I did have a life before the internet. However, my formative years, the internet played a big part in my life. And I am a product of instant gratification, of instant access. Like, it's funny, I was ordering something on Amazon and it said today, and it said ETA January 3rd. And I was like, January 3rd? But it's the 27th. What do you mean January 3rd? And I completely bought a different brand. This is cabin air filters for your car. I went for a different brand because the estimated delivery date is tomorrow. And it's more money. Like, that sounds crazy, right? And is having a cabin air filter a life and death scenario that I cannot drive the vehicle? Absolutely not. If you don't know, the cabin air filter is the filter that is in your glove box that filters the outside air when you blow in your heat or AC. It is not an urgent matter. It absolutely could have waited to January 3rd, but that's the feeling I have. That is the spoiledness of the instant gratification that I have and that I expect, right? It's irrational, it's crazy, but that's where it is. So I know I don't have good coping skills. I think my coping skills are very, very much lacking, and that is something that I'm trying to teach my children. I'm a very hands-on parent, but I also give my children the opportunity to self-soothe when they were babies without feeling neglected. So one of the things is, when your baby cries, you don't pick them up. I absolutely did not believe in that. Your baby crying is a form of communication. When my babies cried, they got hugged. However, when they showed frustration, like if they got a new toy or when they was learning to hold their heads up, when they were crying based out of frustration, no, I didn't run to them. I didn't want to be a snowplow parent and just fix the toy for them or bring it close to them. I gave them an opportunity to self-soothe. There's a video that I took of my son. We had manual reclining chairs, and it was reclined. The foot part was up, and he was trying to climb on top of it. And every time he climbed on top of it, it would go to fold and close. And he was getting frustrated, and I just pulled my phone out. Now, I could have easily walked over to my son and helped him get on the couch, but I channeled all that mama bear energy and said he has to do it. And if he doesn't, he will figure it out or he'll have to come back. And the video is so cute. My son, you can see him getting frustrated. He tries to hold it up. He walks away from the chair, like goes like this, walks away. I don't know what's going on in his head, but it sounded like he gave himself a 2-year-old baby pep talk, and goes back and climbs up on the chair. And I just scream, yay! And he's like shocked, like, because he didn't realize that I was watching him, and he smiles. So I want to give my children an opportunity to learn how to deal with their frustrations, learn how to cope, because I'm not going to be around forever. I didn't really take care of myself. I drank tropical fantasies. I drank quarter waters. I ate Chinese food almost every day. I don't exercise. Yes, I'm doing things to get my health back in order, but I believe I've done long-term damage. My 20s were real fun and real fast. So I just want them to be able to cope, and because I'm not going to be around all the time. His dad got bad knees. We started old. They're probably not gonna have us in their 60s or 70s, but whatever. I'm off topic. But anyway, I feel like a lot of us don't have coping skills, especially us 80, 90, 2000 era children, adults. We don't have adequate coping skills that we would have had if we didn't have the internet. Sponsor me. I've bought quite a few cars from you. Anyway, so being overwhelmed without having adequate coping skills to get out of the rut, and therefore you don't know how to cope, so your default emotion is severe depression. Okay. Being hyper-focused on something. That is not me. I am not hyper-focused on something, but I do know people who are, meaning when they get fixated on something, they're stuck to it. My husband said when he was in college, he got a taste of tequila and he drank only tequila, a lot of tequila, until it made him sick, and now he can't touch the stuff. When we were dating, we went and we bought a hookah, and we were hookahing multiple times a day. Hookah, until now he's sick of it. So that's what I mean. When you are stuck on something, you're hyper-focused, you're focused on it. So that's another sign. Can't manage stress. I think that's everybody. Like, we have a lot of stress, and it's just very few of us who can manage and thrive in a stress-free environment and not have it really mess with you mentally. And then another thing is difficulty prioritizing. When you have too many things on your plate and somebody doesn't break it down on a list to you, do this first, do this first, do this first, you don't know how to prioritize. For example, my husband cannot prioritize. I can give him 5 things to do. Eli, take out the garbage, put the clothes in the dryer, brush the kids' teeth, check the alarm, something else random, put the food away. Eli is going to do it in the order that I told him to do, and the food has stayed out 4 or 5 hours, when his priority should have been to maintain our food safety and put the food away. So he has very difficulty prioritizing. I'm not quite sure if that's only ADHD, and maybe it's just a man thing. That's why more men have it. But that's just one example of you don't know how to prioritize things in your life. Like, you have difficulty putting things in order and realizing what's important to do now. That's a sign of it. Okay. So I believe a lot of us adults, especially coming out of COVID, because COVID was very stressful. No matter what side of COVID you were on, it was stressful for everybody. Pretty much our lives change in an instant. I think environmental triggers have something to do with it. Off topic, I read an article that a lot of young girls are starting to menstruate at 8 coming out of COVID. And they believe, if you don't know, if you're a man, the average age is between, I believe, like 11 and 14. 8 is extremely young to get your period. And it comes with a whole lot of health issues. Like, your body is not designed to start menstruating at 8. So anyway, why are all of these girls now menstruating at 8? And it's because during a pivotal part in their growth 2-3 years ago, the stress has basically, for lack of a better term, aged these children. They have put so much stress on their body that 8-year-old body is now 12. Like the running joke, when Obama was elected, he was beautiful. When he came out, he looked like an old ass man. In 8 years, he looked like he aged 20. It's stress. So environmental triggers, I believe, can manifest itself and help you get a diagnosis for ADHD. So poor sleeping habits. We had twins, equals poor sleeping habits. Stressors in life. COVID, and my husband, I think, was laid off 2 times during COVID. Life stressors, money, children, sickness, health, medical conditions, hypertension, diabetes, all of these things, the medicines that you take, the side effects of the medications, nutritional deficiencies. I'm going too fast. I got to slow down. Nutritional deficiencies. Prime example, when I went to Canada, I believed all their food had no taste. I didn't like any of the food. And it wasn't because the food wasn't seasoned. It was because their sodium content is drastically lower than ours. I remember buying a cup of soup, like a Nissan cup of soup, and was so excited to get that salt I was craving. And it was like drinking water. I think our food in this country is, you could eat vegetables, you could eat fruits, but I think our soil is so overly used. I don't think there's really much in the food that we eat. So I think a lot of us are nutrient deficient. And even how many of us are eating the way we're supposed to eat? Life Oh, I'm sorry, where I'm parked, I can hear the train. Life is both of you got to work. You got to work. You got extracurricular activities with your children after school. We're eating out a lot more. We're not doing the home cooked meals. And I know for me, my meals are 30 minutes. My prep and cook time, because rice takes 20 minutes to cook, everything is done in 20 minutes. I'm not making pot roast, rack of lamb. I'm cooking some chicken on the stove. I don't even turn the oven on anymore. I'm making canned salmon over rice and a microwave vegetable. Like, those are my meals during the week. And I might do something fancy on the weekend, but that's been a long time. So, or we order pizza, and it's not a dig on anybody who can't do it, because I can't do it. So, I think a lot of us are nutrient deficient, and then this thing I'm using right now, our screen time is astronomical. And I know I watch a lot of YouTube videos. I record. My kids have tablets. I did buy them tablets when they were later in life, but when they went into 3K, it was mandatory for them to have a tablet to do their work. This is kindergarten for 3-year-olds. They needed a tablet. That was part of their requirements for school, was a tablet. So I put the blue light filter on, but I know the last thing I do before I go to sleep is plug in my phone. Because even as I lay in bed, I take my glasses off. I'm still doing some shit on my phone. Facebook, checking my Instagram feed, whatever. And then I plug in my phone. So the last thing my brain has processed is technology. So I think we're overstimulated. We don't sleep good. We don't sleep the way we're supposed to. We don't eat good. So I believe a lot of the adult onset diagnosis of ADHD is environmental factors. We're not giving the tools to cope. A lot of us who have health insurance, they make you jump through hoops and circus poodles to get mental health assistance. My new insurance cards, my old insurance cards had a list of things that you needed to get pre-approval for. Hospitalizations, acupuncture, physical therapy, and it had mental health. And it's only recently that they took that off. They took off substance abuse. That was on there too. They took off substance abuse first before they took over mental health. So basically, for you to get help and not need an approval to take care of your mental health, you had to be on some kind of drug. So I'm glad we're shifting in a way where, I don't know, society or insurance companies or doctors are realizing that your brain gets sick just like your body gets sick. Like, I have the sniffles. I don't have a cold. I suffer from allergies. But what is to say that my brain don't suffer from some type of allergy? I suffered terribly with postpartum. I was having these crazy thoughts after my twins were born. I would just drive, zone out, and long for the feeling of driving me and my children off the side of the highway. These are the thoughts I was having. And I don't know if it's because I have a psychology degree or what. I was able to separate that and realize that these intrusive thoughts are wrong. And I was diagnosed with anticipatory anxiety with intrusive thoughts. That comes with a pill. And I take the med. I'm not going to say what it is, but I take it, and when I don't take it, like after 3 days, I have an episode. So I do believe there's chemical imbalance. It's just, like your body. If you can't process insulin properly, they diagnose you with diabetes. Like, why? Our brain gets sick, it gets tired, it suffers from things. So on top of meds, I'm not very big on Western medicine. I do take it. I'm not opposed to it. I do believe that there are some holistic or non-traditional ways to help manage symptoms. I don't believe that it can cure anything, but I believe you can improve your life by managing the symptoms, like PCOS. There's no cure. You manage the symptoms, right? So when I was single, before I started dating my husband, I joined Planet Fitness, and I was going twice a day. I didn't have any children. I was single. I was going in the morning, and I would come into work. I would wake up groggy. I would go in the morning, and I would exercise, shower there, go to work. And then I would be like, good morning, everybody. Da, da, da. I was high as a kite. What do they call it? Endorphins. I felt so good for the whole day when I used to work out in the morning. And then when I got off after work, I would go to the gym, work out, exercise, and I was dating a lot, so I usually had a gentleman caller waiting to pick me up, and I would be the most pleasant person on a date. So yes, exercising helps. Now, you don't got to be like them people sweating all up and down the machine and not wiping it off, but I think 20-minute walk, I think walking is very cathartic, is very therapeutic to just walk. You know, just walk, put your headphones in or don't. Talk to yourself. That you don't have to like be like The Rock to get the benefits of exercising. And even if you don't exercise to lose weight, just exercising, I think, makes you feel better. And I don't do it, and I should do it, and I know I should do it, and I don't do it, which is even worse. I think we should do brain stuff and gut stuff. I know many of you, if you're watching me, you're smart, but I know a lot of us, including myself, are underutilized at our job. Meaning we are smarter than the job that we do. Unless you're like a doctor or lawyer, if you're a paper pusher office worker like me, I believe you're underutilized, because they don't want free thinkers. They don't want new thinkers. They want you to do what you do, and they have a certain way of doing it. So you spend 12, 13 years of your life, if you go to college, even more, 15, 16, 17 years of your life, exercising your brain, filling it with knowledge. And then you get a job, and then you stop learning. You stop. I think games like Candy Crush and all of that became really popular because they were brain exercising games. I'm dating myself, but games like Tetris was very popular with older people. Crossword puzzles, stuff like that. So I think brain exercises. Now, if games are not your thing, I think doing something like joining a book club or even taking classes. I don't know if this is if this is what it is today, but when I was going to a CUNY college, let's say we had 12 people registered in the class, but we had 20 students. Because CUNY used to be an open campus. If you wanted to sit down and take a philosophy class, you could. You wouldn't get any credit, but you could definitely just sit in on a class. And we had people start to finish taking a class. And I remember this one lady, she was in my philosophy class. She was retired, and she sit there and she scored the highest in the class. She used to fuck up our curve. And the teacher used to count her test scores in our curve. So do something like that. And if you don't have the time to like go to a class or something, they have something called master classes now. You could just take like a makeup class or an art class. Just learning something new helps with the brain. Now, gut health. I do a lot of research on gut health, especially since I used to do keto. I was a keto warrior, and leaky gut syndrome and all of these things, and the GAPS diet. These are all things you could look into. Our gut is the engine behind our immune system and our health. And I think what we eat and the foods that we eat do not create an environment for our good bacteria. A lot of us during this era of COVID and sickness have been on antibiotics, which decimates the bacteria in our bodies and everything. And hold on one second. Okay, so back to gut health. I think we need to do a lot of things to improve our gut health. Make your own bone broth. If you don't know how to, just hit me up. It's very easy. Eat live and active cultures that are in yogurt. Try to make your own yogurt, because commercial yogurt is full of sugar, and sugar is the devil. I think another thing, our mineral intake is low, because our food mineral intake is low. So get yourself some real mineral drops. You could just put them in water. They do change the texture of the water. They make it thicker, but there's no taste. Also, mindfulness, find your peace. I've tried meditation. The problem with meditation for me is my brain runs 1,000 miles a minute, so I cannot turn it off. I have yet to master a way to push all the thoughts out of my head. To be able to fully meditate is something I'm working on. But I do mindfulness, which means I can push out negative thoughts if I only hyper focus on positive things. For example, when I'm walking and I'm in pain because I'm walking, because I used to be almost 300 damn pounds, I don't focus on the pain. Nicole, you're walking. You're doing a good job. You're doing this. You have beautiful children, a loving husband. You're this, you're that. You're gorgeous. You're a beautiful black queen. I just keep saying these positive affirmations, and then I don't hyper focus on the pain, and it kind of goes away. And instead of me having thoughts like you're in pain because you didn't take care of your body and you have no self-control and you ate too much food and you did this to yourself. That's an easy place to get to. Scary how easy it is to get to that place, and how I have to work to get to. You're doing it. You make the right steps. You're one step at a time. You're out here walking. It's 23 degrees out here. So if you can't meditate, just start having positive thoughts. And the best thing to do is say them out loud. Say them, speak them into existence. Sleep aids. I know that my quality of sleep was shitty, and I wasn't going in the level of REM sleep I was for it to matter. I had a sleep study done and they slapped the CPAP on me, but since my big weight loss, I stopped using the CPAP. But melatonin gummies, I recommend Goli. I did a lot of research. GOLI, melatonin gummies. It also increases your libido. At least it did for me. Melatonin gummies, sleepy time teas. It helps if you don't eat right before you go to sleep. Give your body time to digest. I don't recommend the sleep aids that Michael Jackson and Prince used. That's out. Don't do that. I'm talking about herbs and supplements. I haven't done too much research on supplements, but my new lifestyle, I have to make sure I take my supplements or I can die. And I noticed that I've had an increase in my mood and everything else just by being forced to take all of these supplements. So that's my suggestion, to try to help alleviate or just manage, because we're not going to cure everything. There's no cure for ADD or ADHD. There's no cure. You manage the symptoms. You try to minimize the symptoms to have a productive and full life, and not be feeling shitty all the time. All right, everybody, keep your mental health just as healthy as your body healthy. Go for a yearly checkup. Do a mental health checkup on yourself. Even if you don't see a professional, there's tons of online resources to do a mental health assessment on yourself. Full body, mind, body, soul, if you believe it, spirit, just your aura. All right, everybody, till next time. Bye-bye.